Hey everybody, Brad Stevens here. Looking forward to my mentor session with you today. As I share, this is always one of the most exciting parts of the month. Have a blast engaging and working with the whole AO group. What a great group and community that you are building, and Sean leading this organization. So privileged to be a part of it and get a chance to share my feedback and insights. So very briefly, my name is Brad Stevens, CEO of Outsource Access. Been a lifetime entrepreneur for 20 years, based out of Atlanta, Georgia here, and built a number of companies over the last 20 years, product-based businesses, service-based businesses. And in my last company, we actually manufactured and distributed teeth whitening products around the world, about 18 countries, about 10,000 accounts. Had a product disaster, caused cash to get lean. I had to learn about the world of outsourcing, how to do things low cost, fast, be agile, nimble, and actually learned that information in saving kind of that last business at that particular time. And so sort of became authority on the world of outsourcing and the gig economy. And a lot of people had read, Tim Ferriss' 4-Hour Workweek 10 years ago, but hadn't gone much beyond it. So I became an authority on it, and just in learning it for my own business and how to tap into this whole world, virtual assistants and platforms like Fiverr and Upwork, and how do you use them, how do you leverage them appropriately in the business. So when I ended up exiting that last business, launched our own company, and that is now what we have is Outsource Access. And so I now do a ton of speaking on this, so I have an educational component to what I do, which I love sharing. I mean, I live and breathe entrepreneurship and small to medium business. I'm actually president of the EO Atlanta chapter of Entrepreneurs Organization. And so I love speaking on this and speak globally on it throughout the U.S., Canada. I just did presentations for Bahrain and Saudi Arabia area, and Australia, and Africa. Educating people on the whole outsourcing world. What is it? How has it evolved? How do you integrate it into your business? Mainly for small to medium, companies, because most of them don't realize how do they integrate it. And then we launched our own operation. So for a number of years, all I did was education and advisory on it, and sharing how I had done it in my prior companies, and decided to launch our own operation. So we launched Outsource Access, where we are our mission is to help entrepreneurial businesses realize their potential. That's kind of our purpose statement. And so we have actually grown to over 200 staff in just over 15, 16 months here. And so I live and breathe this stuff every day, working with clients in every industry imaginable, providing fully managed virtual assistants and staff for their business. So we've seen every different scenario that exists out there in all industries, and how this world can apply to them and where they integrate it when it comes to automating, delegating. That's actually the title of my presentation when I speak, is redefining how work gets done, how to automate, delegate with outsourcing, virtual assistants, and easy tech tools. So that being said, that's kind of the foundation. So if you want to learn about us and our business, I'll reference, I'll share some of my examples that I use in our own business as some of the case studies that answer some of the questions that some of you bring up here on outsourceaccess.com. You can check it out there. So jumping in, name of submitter, Chris Sadat. Question, what is the best CRM program or software that can track email leads? Business description, I own a PPE referral agency that sends qualified buyers to purchase PPE directly with the authorized distributors. I'm looking for a CRM that can help as a good project management system to track and organize email leads. We're about to 10x our email sends and need a much better way of tracking all our incoming and outgoing emails to and from buyers and sellers. Looking for a CRM that is not super expensive, but worth the investment that can help in this regard. So Chris, when it comes to CRMs and email marketing, unfortunately there is an ocean of options that are out there. And there's new ones that are coming out every single day. There's not a lot of barriers to entry in some cases to at least starter level email marketing and CRM platforms. So the first thing I would really do is just, internally is kind of make a matrix of what your needs are and what you're really looking for to help define your requirements going into this exercise. And something may be helpful in doing that is there's a platform called G2 Crowd, capital G, the number 2 crowd.com. Some of you may have heard of it, but it's one of the best platforms I've seen out there that does a good job of when you're researching any kind of software solution, whether it's email marketing or project management or what have you. It takes all the different players that are out there and puts them on a matrix on different axes based on capability and performance, and shows you where each one is located where that's concerned. So and CRMs are on there as well. There's a big component. So it may be helpful in looking at the options, but also giving you a framework on how to think about making a decision and how you want to filter. So when it comes to email marketing platforms, I mean, obviously, we have clients that are using every email marketing tool under the sun. So I personally don't have intimate knowledge of every single one that's out there. But I can refer, that's kind of the framework to go about it. Personally, Infusionsoft is the platform that we've used. And I could just share from that perspective and a couple others that I also have some reference to. But Infusionsoft is now rebranded Keep, K-E-A-P, been around for a long time. But, I'd used Salesforce.com, you've HubSpot, used, Constant Contact, a number of different ones. The thing I liked about Infusionsoft is it's a fully integrated, CRM and marketing automation platform and e-commerce kind of all in one integrated, solution. And I just like the way that the interface works, the tagging system works. When you're uploading leads, managing leads, they're very, very consumer focused. And Clayton Mask, who actually founded Infusionsoft, because of how good he's been at consumer focused product development, actually has a whole leadership academy completely separate of their company that kind of shows people the path of how they do product development. So that being said, I just think it's a really well done product. It has a ton of integrations as well. There's a marketplace that tons of people have made apps similar to like how Salesforce is that can kind of plug into it. But it can be a CRM, so it can manage all of your leads through these things called opportunities. And as you're moving people through different workflows, it can automatically trigger different nurture sequences and things to happen. So you can manage the whole CRM, customer relationship management portion of it as they move through the sales cycle. The marketing automation is very powerful in Infusionsoft, and the one thing I like is that it has a visual kind of canvas. So when you go to create an email, or a nurture campaign, you kind of drag and drop onto this digital canvas, and it allows you to quickly drop, email nurture sequence and then timers and everything that you want to do. That I found very helpful. And the thing is, it lets you do a lot more than just email marketing. It can automatically trigger text messages, voicemail drops. Like when someone joins us and purchases our VA program, wants us to provide a VA for them, sends them a confirmation email, then it does a voicemail drop to them directly from me, thanking them for joining us. You can even integrate with tools like Thankster.com that does automated handwritten letters. So anyway, I don't have any personal investment interest in the business. I just can speak to it as a really good tool. And it has e-commerce as well. So it sounds like you probably maybe have the e-commerce component or you're doing referrals, but you can do purchases and allow that to happen through the platform. The other that I would recommend, if you're looking for other trackability and things to trigger, Marketo and Pardot, you mentioned kind of not too expensive. Those are really pretty expensive platforms, but as you grow, maybe ones to keep in the back of your mind. Marketo is an incredibly robust email marketing platform as well. Again, I don't live and breathe in it every single day, but I did have a client at one point that was engaging that back when I was doing consulting and got a chance to see the sales demos on it. Pretty powerful tool and can trigger, I think, when people are just on certain pages of your website, if they're in your marketing system, and automatically trigger to them based on that. So some pretty cool functionality, and then Pardot as well. But it goes back to really defining what your requirements are. And and I would urge too, if this is the backbone of your business, you want to be, cautious from an investment standpoint, but also look at it in terms of ROI. If you choose a tool that can get you an additional, 2 or 3, what's the value of a customer? And, sometimes it's better not to be, penny wise, pound foolish on this one, because, it's hard to detangle out of your CRM system once you already have it underway and you got all this data and all this history in there. So may just want to consider that as well, is, maybe worth spending a little bit more for one, if it's kind of a core part of your business and delivery. And one other thing I'll just share on that is just also really think about the content. Aside from the tool itself that can do email marketing and be able to track opens and clicks, is what's going to drive that activity. And so really, really think about, email marketing strategy. I've referenced before Russell Brunson's .com secrets, and then his book, Expert Secrets is one of the best in terms of sales psychology architecture. So recommend checking that out. That's what I've used to kind of map and develop my nurture sequences on building authority and doing case studies and doing frequently asked questions. And then another one is Lean Content Academy. We actually just engaged that ourselves. I got from my marketing team. That's a very low cost tool that provides a whole framework for how to create content. Our next question. From Chris Sadat, what is the best email platform for ESP that can send 15,000 to 20,000 emails a day safely? Business description: I have a PPE referral agency. My partner Priscilla and I are trying to make more money than we currently are. We're currently using Mailshake to send emails, but because our domain is with G Suite, we're only allowed to send about 2,000 emails a day. We would like to find a way to send 20,000 emails a day or more so that we can 10x what we are currently making. We would like some guidance and assistance on how to do that. So I'll go back to making a matrix of what your kind of requirements are for that email platform. So you've got that filter and those requirements kind of clearly outlined. And I'd recommend checking out G2 Crowd, capital G, the number 2 crowd.com, and just go in there. It's a great software comparison platform that puts things on matrices that you can search and just put, mass email marketing platform. When I saw this question, I just Googled, mass email marketing platforms, and that's one of the ones that came up. And there's a couple. Go into an independent writer service like a PCMag.com or some others that are doing good objective, writing on comparing these is kind of a good helpful one as well. But I use Infusionsoft for our company. We send, north of that, those kind of numbers of emails out and don't have any problems. Any email marketing platform you're going to be sending out of typically is going to want to allow you to kind of edge into emails that you're sending, right? So typically they let you be progressive. So you can send 2,000, then 4,000, then 6,000. As long as you're not getting spam complaints, they'll let you progressively send more and more. So again, we're not into the business and ours of doing hundreds of thousands of emails, but we certainly do in the tens of 20, 30,000 email marketing campaigns. And, we've earned the right to continue to increase that volume with that provider based on our performance. So with the canned spam laws and so forth, a lot of these providers are restricted by that. Even like with a MailChimp, to send out emails. I know people that are sending 100,000, 200,000 emails through that platform, I believe, but they've had to earn the right to get to that volume. Another thing I might suggest is doing an email marketing service, which you probably have. I remember there's one actually down in Florida called Lead Me Media that I was talking to that, you just it's an email rental service as well. So you tell them who you're wanting to go after. You can get pretty granular on that target. And they'll send out, I think it was like $500 to send out 20,000 emails. And they guarantee a certain level of deliverability on those email blasts that are going out. So that may be something else to consider as well as you're growing. And what you do is on those, you can blast that email out, and they own the, they don't give you the email addresses. They basically send it on your behalf. But whatever you're driving them to, if it's to your site, if you have an opt-in, then that's the way you can then convert them over and then opt in, and now you own the email address as well. So just another experience to consider. All right, this email from AkaShawnThomas. Question is, without a team to delegate to and without the budget to hire a full team, how'd you get things done when you first started your company, and it was just you? Background is, I hear many experienced entrepreneurs talk about delegating and only doing the things you're great at, and unfortunately, it's only me. And I'm just starting. So I don't have the team nor the money to hire a full team. I know I can't be alone in trying to understand how to get everything done on a limited budget and it only being me. How'd you do it when you were first starting? Is it just mindset, or where did you go to learn everything, to get everything done? Looking for your story. Thanks so much. So, Sean, I'll start off answering that absolutely 100%, 1,000% is mindset is the starting point for this. I just get a chance through my career as an entrepreneur, being involved in an entrepreneur organization, really helping be a part of, building and growing or expanding. It was already in place, a program that we have for small businesses trying to get to the $1 million mark in a 3-year time frame. And organizations like AO, that's just what I found is a lot of times there are people that there's the wannabe entrepreneurs that always talk about it but still have full-time jobs that never make the jump. Then there's those that get into becoming, an entrepreneur, and they just can't get out of the hamster wheel, right? It's just, and unfortunately, I think in terms of just how our body works is that, that there's this state of fight or flight that we get into as humans, right? And as an entrepreneur, you kind of get those kind of emotions a lot of times. And, you have, from a chemistry standpoint, pumping through your blood, and you get to a place where your body only knows how to be in a frantic, reactive state of just wake up every day, you're taking short breaths, and you're just juggling everything and being hyper-reactive. And a lot of those people want to talk about getting out of and being in the business and want to work on the business, but they just don't make that shift to truly get and emerge beyond it. And I know I've been in that trap myself. where you just want to, but you just all your energy is you leave everything on the field at the end of every single day, whenever that may be for some of you, maybe late into the evening, and that work on the business aspect and delegating and creating processes and systems and so forth just doesn't quite happen. So first of all, you have to truly make a commitment that I want to elevate myself out of the chaos, because what happens is I find that a lot of people will even sabotage their opportunities for success because they get so used to that, right? And they don't even know what peace feels like. And again, I've been there for sure. That it's like, whoa, this feels uncomfortable. Like things are moving smoothly and there's not some chaotic thing that I've got to go and save the day on. So it's making a mindset and then truly, getting yourself out of that chemistry of the dump of, cortisol is actually the chemical that jumps into your body. That's that fight or flight. And, entrepreneurs, I would wager probably have a lot of that pumping through because it's that constant state. And it takes a little time to unwind yourself out of it. So committing to elevating yourself out of the chaos and wanting to delegate and grow a business and not just own a job, but own a company, as a lot of people have heard others share. It's kind of cliche. So how do you do that? I mean, part of that is creating a strategy. Is first of all, do you have a valid model? Right? Are you in love with your own idea and your own business, or do you have an actually economically sound business that has success and has a chance to grow? A lot of people, again, that's the other thing, is they get fall in love with their own business, their own operation, and don't elevate. It's not economically sound, and they don't like looking at the numbers or really believing that maybe this isn't going to work financially, because that's hard to face, and they never elevate out of it. Or do you have a good financially sound model? If you haven't done a good financial model, just so you can have confidence in the numbers. So if you do put in this effort to elevate and to hire some people and to bring in resources, which I'll talk about, are you going to see the dollars stack up, right? So I always say there's comfort in numbers for sure. And so putting together a good financial model so you can see how the numbers shake out, whatever your business may be. I love doing Excel models and Google spreadsheet models where I put my variables on one side so I can play around with different costs, different sales models, and see how that forecasts out over 12 months and see what does the margin add up to on a cumulative basis. So I know that's a lot of preamble on it, but that is the foundation element that I've kind of come to learn anytime I want to go down any path. And then create a strategy of goal development execution for yourself. Whatever process you want to use, but make a commitment to 90-day, there's always a great cycle, 90-day commitment to goals. And what I recommend is coming up with 5 chronological steps that you're going to take to accomplish that goal. Right? So if you're in the chaos and you want to emerge out of it, and you want to bring on a new person, or you're trying to implement a new marketing automation platform that's going to help automate a lot of the marketing stuff that's taking a ton of your time, say that, in 90 days, I want to have a marketing automation platform identified and implemented and fully functional. Now, what are the 5 steps that need to happen? And pushing yourself to think through those 5 steps, and hold yourself accountable. And if you have a team, each week, where are you on those 1 through 5 steps? And are you making progress? Or are you 8 weeks in and you're still on step 2? But thinking through those 5 steps will help you make it more palatable, because you can just bite off each of those different micro components to get to that final goal. So as far as the tools I'd recommend, when it's just you as well, and if you're starting to expand a team, it's just a couple of tools. From my perspective, the fastest way of getting things done fast and low cost is going to be sort of the outsourcing gig economy, using a blend of some of these tools, that creative tech tools, as well as some of these platforms, to really try and take time, money, and knowledge off of the table, so that you don't have a time constraint, a money constraint, or if you don't have knowledge in a certain area, you can get the stuff at your fingertips very cheap and fast. So a couple of these things. One is, in the journey that some of you may be in, if it's just you and you're kind of growing, is may still be doing market validation. Right? Is there a valid market? What are the competitors in the market? Pennies on the dollar, you can get information in your hands. I share an example where we were looking to go into a certain industry, and I did a quick Screencast-O-Matic recording, and that's another tool, Screencast-O-Matic, and another one called useloom.com that you can search, Google. Free tools that allow you to do a screencast recording onto your screen explaining what you want, and you can post it on these job platforms. And I wanted to get a list of all the competitors in my market. And for $17 in 3 days, I did that screencast recording, posted on Upwork, and they sent me a spreadsheet with every single competitor in the market. So I had instant market intelligence for less than $20 in a few days, so I could go see what does the entire competitive landscape look like, so I can make decisions if I want to enter that market, or what are the costs, what do the competitors look like if I do want to go into that market, right? So many people just fall in love with their own idea, and they just go down a path without ever doing some of this. And look, in the past, the old paths, look, you didn't have the time or resources or money to do some of these things, so you just had to just roll the dice and go on your gut feel. It's crazy to have to do that now. You can fail fast and quick and validate super cheap and fast using some of these channels. Another thing is creating surveys. In markets, we were doing a digital launch product at one point, and I am always about asking what other people think, right? You come up with your own idea of what you think is a great business name or product name or what have you. I love doing SurveyMonkey or Google Forms. Go create it. And then one thing I do is I'll have somebody data scrape and put into a list all the private Facebook groups that exist in that subject. So if you go into Facebook and you go search for like entrepreneur groups, there's tons of them, and some of them have like 100,000 plus people in them, and they're all willing to help and support one another, similar to kind of like AO. And particularly when the AO group do the same thing, is create a SurveyMonkey, make it super simple that people can just check boxes on whatever the product or concept is, and tell them, hey, you're going to give them a free whatever you sell, for providing that response or some other kind of value. And you'd be amazed. I'll take 20 private Facebook groups and just go in one by one. Don't violate. You're not trying to sell something. All you're doing is asking for feedback. And you'd be amazed at how many people. I mean, I did one. I think we posted on 15 or 20 Facebook groups, and within 48 hours, I got over 100-something responses, I think, that really completely invalidated what I thought the product name should be that we were going after at that point. So it's a great way to do that. And again, these are just cheap, fast tools. If it's just yourself and you're trying to validate ideas, validate markets, and so forth, that's helpful. Then when you talk about creating the assets, right? So if you validate a product and now you got to start putting it out there for people to purchase or to engage, you can get websites done, logos done, very cheap and fast, with Fiverr, with Upwork. I mean, like in our company, we provide VA services, and our VAs actually help build and do that stuff. But then we lean on those resources as well, if it's outside of a VA's particular expertise. One of my favorites to do for logo and branding creation is 48hourlogo.com. And for like $130, you can post on there sort of what your general business idea is, give a general idea of your color scheme and your thoughts, and it'll post it out, and globally it'll hold a contest all across the world. And when we were creating the Outsource Access logo, I knew Outsource Access was our company name, but I was initially thinking I wanted a logo with like a key, meaning like access to global talent, had this initial idea of what I thought. Posted on this platform, and I've done this multiple times, and every time what comes back is completely different than what I thought I wanted in my head. So posted it out there in a couple days, got hundreds of responses. And the cool thing about holding a global contest is that you have people from all different cultures doing designs and things, right? So they're going to send these things back, and for $129 in a couple of days, I got hundreds of ideas, and got this one that was finally, one person did like this A inside of an O, like the Avenger logo kind of thing, and fell in love with it. So I didn't have to go spend 10 grand with a marketing agency or spend tons and tons of time, although they can provide a lot of value depending on what your business is. But if you're talking about doing things fast and low cost and it's just it's a great tool for doing that. And then using that tool like Screencast-O-Matic to be able to communicate if you're getting websites built, brochures built, literature built. You can get all that stuff done on Upwork and Fiverr, and obviously manage VA services kind of like with what we do. Also, when it's just you, the tools highly recommend, and you can dig into these further, but Calendly.com, automatic appointment booking, so you're not playing the back and forth game with somebody to book appointments with you for sales calls, administrative calls, operational calls, internal calls. Highly recommend Calendly.com, Calendly.com, or something similar. I use that tool nonstop. I won't even play the game back and forth with emailing. I'm like, hey, here's my link, find a time, book a call for us to connect. Screencast-O-Matic, already talked about in this question answer. Allows you to quickly record your screen, so you can just record it. It quickly generates a little link to a video, and you can send it to somebody. You don't have to save some big video file. Email automation and content. When you're just starting, you've got to use some kind of automation tool, right? Depending on your budget as you grow, like Pipedrive is actually a really good kind of initial low-cost one to get a start point. And as you grow, you may want to use a tool like an Infusionsoft that does automated email marketing and engagement for you. Video recording, one of the best things that I did, again, to automate our sales process. So if you go to outsourceaccess.com/process, or if you click on Get a Virtual Assistant at the top, you'll see I recorded a video right there. For about $150, I got a wireless mic, fully wireless from Amazon that has a lapel and clips, and then it connects to my phone through a wireless receiver. A selfie stick to hold my iPhone, and on a tripod, and this TV you can see behind me here. And I answered all the questions everybody has. So when anybody comes to engage us in our business, they watch that video first. And if you watch it, you'll see I have some footage from our team in the Philippines and taking everybody on the journey of what it's like behind the scenes there, because you're addressing DFCs, doubt, fears, and concerns. and taking all the questions, and depending on where you are in your business, you probably know a lot of the things people ask you over and over again. You spend the first 20 minutes of every call answering. You can answer in that video. And it's another thing to scale myself. That video does the vast majority of selling of our services. People watch it. It's like I'm already entering the conversation in their head and knocking down those dominoes one at a time that they have about, what about time zones? What about competency? How long's the contract? What if they don't have the skill sets? What about turnover? Pre-address all that stuff. Another thing cool on your site for automating, again, when you're by yourself, is sumo.com or Opt-in Monster. Does a great job of capturing leads. Sumo.com, they have this thing called a welcome mat. If you go to our website, you're on there for 15 seconds, boom, shuts down the whole screen, and this really cool opt-in, the survival guide for small business to COVID-19, have 20-25% conversion rate on that. Really successful versus the little pop-up box that goes in the middle. Next is messaging, right? So, just sharing when you're by yourself and if you start using these tools, right, you can set up this whole automation machine that's just you, right? And these tools can work for you to make things happen. But a lot of it around it is messaging. Take time and be insanely educational and add value to people, right? Don't think sales, think education, in my opinion. The vast majority of sales these days is all education, driven. How can you educate people about whatever it is that you sell or what you do that's related? Like I said on ours, we have the opt-in on our site. When you go to outsourceaccess.com, you're on there for 20 seconds. Or if you go to outsourceaccess.com/help, you'll see on there a specific lead magnet. And we got that little 3D rendering done for $5 on Fiverr of that book. It's we've never printed the thing, but it looks like it's printed there. And we got the whole thing done and out the door for I think less than $100, the whole ebook guide. But it's educational and value, so you earn the right to be in people's inboxes. And when we do a nurture sequence after somebody opts in education-wise, we focus on building authority, sharing frequently asked case studies, and then frequently asked questions. And that's a series. So if you want to get a book on that really does a good job on explaining the psychology of nurture sequences, highly recommend checking out Expert Secrets, Russell Brunson, great book. It's literally the kind of a Bible I use for sales psychology and crafting content. Because part of what you're trying to do in sales is if you're spending a lot of time and it's just you and you're growing your business, there's so much money lost in the warm leads. There's those that call you and are like, hey, I need, like us, hey, I need a VA today. Like, how can I hire one? Great. Those are acute pain and they buy from us. There's the cold ones that are just never going to board with this concept. But it's all the warm ones, right? It's all the ones that maybe saw, a post in my social media and then go to our website and they're not ready to, buy or fill out a form or, pick up the phone or contact us. They're kind of, I've been hearing about this VA thing. Then boom, they get this highly valuable educational piece of content that they can download. And then I'm earning the right to be in their inbox. I send them that. Then I send them this list that we data scrape of 125 growth opportunities during COVID. Our team put together all the markets that are expanding because of COVID. And then after that, I build authority and I share links to Inc. magazine articles. Me on stage at, John Maxwell, who's one of the top leadership writers in the world at his Leadership Institute. So I'm earning authority. So, and then I, share case study examples. Then I do one FAQ at a time. Don't answer them all at once. So a lot of times when you're by yourself and you're a solopreneur, you got to use these tools to do them in place. And a lot of people do the tools, but they do a crap job of the messaging. And they just wonder why it doesn't convert. It's like, well, I'm using all these tools that everybody talks about, but it's not converting. You've got to be educational and add value. And at the bottom of every single one of those educational emails is a place for them to click the button when they're ready to get started. And at some point, most of them, they heard what they need to hear and they're ready to move ahead. It's really important. Now, as far as the outreach process, right? So you got your assets developed, you got the components to people to engage with you. It's how do you get people to your site and so forth. Data scraping and data mining is one of my favorites, depending on kind of what you're going after. We saw a big opportunity for us to go into the real estate market and commercial real estate agents that really need VAs. We have a lot of capability in supporting them. So we did a data scrape, of all the real estate agents that had, certain designations that they were highly qualified, individuals. And so did a data scrape, and they put together a whole list for us, name, email address, LinkedIn profile, and so forth. And so if you just go post on Upwork and Fiverr and say, I want a data miner, I want to get a list of these criteria, you'd be amazed at what people can generate for you. You just got to give them kind of a spreadsheet with the headers of what you're looking for. And again, highly recommend using a Screencast-O-Matic recording that you post that link so they can watch your video explaining what you want. Using automation tools like Meet Alfred is a LinkedIn tool. Linked Helper is another one that can do automatic LinkedIn outreach connection engagement for you. Obviously you've got email marketing, outreach. through some of the tools that I've mentioned, Infusionsoft or Pipedrive. Thinkster does automated handwritten letters. So after you have a phone call, you can click a button and you just type in what you want and have preset copy, and they will physically mail a letter in the mail to them that's a handwritten one signed by you. And if you're, again, it's just you and you're trying to get through the door, it's some big opportunities. Another thing to consider is some high-end gifting, where you may spend a little bit more on a higher-end gift that's very personal to that person, doesn't have your logo all over it. There's a guy named John Rulin that wrote a book called Giftology, highly recommend. And I've, seen a lot of people and heard a lot of stories, through his examples that, maybe it's $100 knife or something. Maybe you root around on LinkedIn and you see that this person really likes a certain, sports team or what have you, and you send them a really high-end gift. It's a great way that, again, if you're going after big hitters or big opportunities, you can kind of get in the door. So hopefully that's helpful. A combination of mindset, tools, technology, and approaches to use when it's just yourself to kind of automate and delegate. Next question, Gabriel Suarez. Question is, looking for suggestions or advice on sourcing non-traditional or non-SBA financing options for my franchisees, loans anywhere from $75,000 to $150,000. Business description. Because my franchise model includes the sale of CBD oil, most traditional lenders such as major banks or the SBA will not offer financing to our franchisees. I need help finding alternative financing solutions for our franchisees. Even a lead to someone very experienced in this field that may be able to help me is appreciated. Sean, please forward this to all the mentors that you think could help. So Gabriel, one person just right off the top of your head is actually a forum mate of mine. His name's John Ostenson, JONOSTENSON. If you just look him up on LinkedIn, but he's actually an expert in the whole franchising world. He's actually got a book coming out and speaks on it, and even talks about franchising as an asset class for a lot of entrepreneurs kind of going down that path. And so I don't know if he has an exact name, but he just knows that space really, really well and knows a lot of the players and all the different resources and tools from all kinds of different franchises out there. So we reach out to him, John Ostenson. So, I'm not an expert on some of these. Fortunately, I've kind of used some creative ways to kind of cash flow our businesses and haven't had to go down that path. But, in the past, a couple things I've had to do is factoring on receivables. May not be super applicable depending on the kind of amount of, given that this is transactional and retail, you probably don't have a lot of receivables because it's transactional. What you can do, though, and may have heard, is merchant loan advances, and they're expensive. But I've used those in my past business when we were in a crunch. Where basically on the amount of credit card transactions that you run per month, you have people that will advance you money based on that, and they just take a small piece of your next month's transactions until they pay back. The interest rates can be pretty expensive on that, but it is an alternative path. And again, this one may not be applicable with you guys, but another thing just to share with any other listeners on here as far as non-traditional other ways is using your customers, to help fund your growth as well. If you're in a place where, people can prepay, and this may be part of what they could do with CBD is, if people are, it's a lot of small transactions that have a lot of them to be a material dollar amount, but is letting people prepay and being able to, get cash flow in the door. In our business when we were growing, we allowed people, if they wanted to prepay for their VA for the entire year, because normally we charge on a monthly basis, but if they wanted to prepay for the year, we'd give them a discount, and we had people, paying the entire year up front. So, we ended up having to have that immediately then, but it allowed us to have that available, war chest available. So you can use customers to fund your growth. And another company I'd recommend, full disclosure, it's a client we work with as well, but called Lendistry, LENDISTRY.com. And they do a lot of small business creative loans. And so you can tell them that I sent them your way, can offer some additional help, but maybe be able to offer some channels. They're doing some creative things on small business loans. Our next question is from Allison Koyanagi. Question is, how do you quickly filter out leads that aren't right for your business if you don't have a designated salesperson yet? Business description. Recently I had a lead that I felt wasn't right for my company, and he used 40 minutes of my time. When he first sent me an email with all of his business information, it seemed like a good lead to begin with. He ended up saying he couldn't afford to pay for services, but he would pay me with a percentage of sales. His product was promising, but he as an owner did not like did not seem like a fit for my company. He seemed like a possible nightmare client, and I'm trying to filter out those types of clients before we enter into a working relationship. Full service digital marketing agency, passionate about using digital marketing strategies and creative content to help businesses stand out from their competition, generate more sales, and gain brand awareness. So Allison, on this question, one of the best things, depending on where you are in your growth, right? I mean, when you're growing a business, like sometimes it's just you want to take anything that you can. You're trying to get dollars in the door, and then don't want to put too many hurdles up to create a conversation and opportunity. So I'll share a couple of things. One is, it sounds like you had a questionnaire that you had them fill out, but maybe revisiting what those questions are, and put some kind of parameters on there as far as what is our ideal client in terms of size, what the spend average could be expected. Now again, it's if you want to be able to turn nothing into something sometimes, and if you're good on the phone, you can take somebody that maybe didn't think they're going to be spending at that level, and by the time they're done with you, they're willing to. But just revisit those filtering questions to make sure that it's weeding people out. Another thing is doing a video. If you go to our website, one of the best things that I've ever done for our sales process is I made a video for about $150. I got a wireless mic using my iPhone, a selfie stick, and a tripod. I connected the selfie stick. And so if you go to outsourceaccess.com/process, you'll see, have a little bit of text. Then it's a video. I take people behind the scenes to the Philippines of our whole team and our VAs and dealing with what I call DFCs, doubt, fears, and concerns of working with us. And then, using the screen, I visually go through a set of slides, but I intentionally shoot it from waist up so they can see my energy, my body language, they can get a feel of that. But I go through what all the frequently asked questions that I hear all the time about our business. And then also let them know what our process is like, what they can expect, and also touch on what our pricing is. And that has been one of the best things, that if they're not willing to watch that video and understand our process, they're not willing to engage, because we need people who are committed to following our process and engaging it. And that's done a great job of filtering people that aren't a fit because they're not willing to kind of watch it and go through it. And then secondly, the ones that do watch it and book a call afterwards are epically qualified because they've seen it, they get it, and ours is a 25-minute video, right? I know that seems long, but nature of what we're doing tends to have a lot of questions people have around it. And everybody always tells me, Brad, I saw 25 minutes on the ticker. I didn't think I'd ever watch it. But as soon as I started watching it, it's like you were in my head answering all the questions and concerns that I had, and I just kept staying all the way to the end. So if you've got a good handle, which sounds like you do on as far as your business and what the typical questions, would recommend doing that. That's another thing you can do in addition to a questionnaire, is have that video and ask them to watch that video. And using a tool like Calendly.com that people book with us on that, they have to book onto an automatic calendar booking tool. We actually have it set up to send them reminders to watch that video before the call, and then we're not going to, the call will not be productive if they haven't watched that video. So it kind of sends reminders as well. So highly recommend trying that approach. Next question, name of submitter, David Fitzmaurice. Hi there, where do I learn how to set up Klaviyo email flows and automations for my Shopify business? Our business is an online activewear brand that sells to women interested in health, fitness, and fashion. I'm asking this question because I have some flows and automation set up, but I know I can probably add a lot more to it, improve on them, but I don't know where to look and to see if it's being done correctly. I think if I can get this set up correctly, it would help sales and get more customers returning to our store. So when it comes to email marketing automation, David, if you want to see exactly my philosophy on it, if you go to outsourceaccess.com/help, you'll see kind of the opt-in that we have. That's the entry point for us. It's a COVID-19 survival guide for small business. If you opt into that and just save the emails, there's 20 emails that come over the course of 2 days. 20 emails that come over the course of 40 days because they're sent 2 days apart. And a lot of philosophy that I've gotten on these is there's a couple different books. Digitalmarketer.com has a great book on marketing automation platforms. Russell Brunson has a book called Expert Secrets, and it's really about how to monetize your expertise and knowledge. But as part of that, it just does a brilliant job of how sales psychology works and how to manage the flow of messaging. And so with ours, people don't want to listen to what you have to say. They don't care how much you know until they know that you care, right? Or have authority that they should pay attention. So my philosophy is, when people opt in or start email, it's just be education first, right? How can I add value so you're earning the right to stay in people's inboxes? Creative subject lines with questions and short phrases that get them to open. And in my approach, the first thing I do is build authority. But I'm doing it subconsciously, right? I'm not saying, hey, I'm brilliant. I've been chosen to write for Inc. magazine. I've gotten a chance to work with Martin Luther King III. I've gotten a chance to, be on stage with John Maxwell at his Leadership Institute, or after him, actually, at his Leadership Institute. But what I do is I send them links to blogs, my Inc. magazine articles, sharing, hey, I got a chance to speak at John Maxwell's Leadership Institute once, and here's a couple things that I learned. So I'm subconsciously building authority that I know what I'm talking about, and they should pay attention to me without being braggadocious in the process, right? And then I go to case studies, right? So it's like, okay, I've earned the right, but I've done it through the vehicle of education. I've sent them to educational content through all of those different nurture emails. And if you opt into that one, you'll kind of see this exact process. And if you want, just save them off in a folder and feel free to duplicate exactly, or at least follow the framework. Then I do case studies, right? One after another, but a very specific structure, bite size. Here's the customer. Here's where their problem was, what they were dealing with in their business with not enough time, money, and knowledge to get things done. Here's how we provide a VA and solve the problem, and here's the outcome of where they are now. And they get 5 of those every 2 days, right? Specifically in a same format. And then the next ones I do are FAQs. So I take each FAQ people have about our business. So I've earned the right with credibility. I've kind of spoken them in a common language of case studies and examples of people that have seen value. Now they're like, okay, I get this, but what about this? What about time zones? What about competency? What about communication? What about contract length? What if my VA doesn't have all the skills that I need? Right? I take each one of those and I do one single email in each one. I tease to the question in the beginning of the email, and then I have a link for them to go to a video on our website, and right below that video is for them ready to get started. Right? So I answer that question in a video, and I also, back when you could travel, I answered these videos while I was traveling on the road, right? So it wasn't just me in front of the same screen every time. It was me, very kinetic, walking through the airport at Vancouver or in Ottawa or what have you. So if you get a chance to make them a different background and environment, create some more energy to the videos. But that's kind of a philosophy of it's about creating. Now, as far as getting those set up, I mean, you can get VAs, and that's one thing that we do all day long with our VAs for clients is, myself and my marketing team will kind of come up with the messaging and just craft them. Email 1, subject, body, links, and so forth in a Google Doc. Then email 2. Then provide that over to a VA, and the VA will log in and go and build it all out. Put them all in, do all the links, add all the images, all the copy, and all that kind of stuff, and make it all pretty. So that's kind of the path that we've done with VAs. You can do like a managed service like us, or you can go on Upwork, Fiverr, and just say, hey, I need somebody to go in and build, nurture sequences in the process. But the other thing I'll share is on the back side of that, at the bottom of every single one of those emails, whether it's authority, FAQs, and so forth, at the bottom it says, ready to get started, ? Option 1, option 2. Right? I still need more information, right? Then that sends them to a link for them to watch a recorded webinar of me going through the whole outsourcing world. Or secondly, hey, Brad, I get it. I believe in what you do. I just want to know your process. Boom. They click on option 2. That takes them to our process page where they watch our video of exactly how our program works. So you get that. And at the end of the day, if they get to the end of that 20-part nurture sequence, and I know every 2 days seems like a lot, but they're in the mindset of wanting to buy, we want to keep consistent with it. But if they stay at the end and they still haven't opted out, but they haven't purchased, then we have what's called a long-term nurture, where I send what I call our addictive tool series. Once a tool every week. We have over a year and a half's worth. So we stay on their nurture sequence forever with something of value. But at the bottom of every single one of those addictive tool emails, right? And all we do is share one cool tool that maybe they've never heard of before that says, hey, you still thinking about starting? Click here, takes them back to our process page. So it's constantly staying on that nurture wheel long term. All right, submitter is Gabor Ratch. Hope I said that correctly. Rats, how do I keep track of what everyone's doing in a growing team? Business description, not long ago, our company consisted of my parents and I plus a secretary. We now have 3 full-time and 4 part-time employees doing packaging and admin, 3 to 5 contractors working on marketing, and many more in content production. Some work in our office, others are remote. One of the employees works as a manager of the admins and reports to me while I directly manage everyone who works on marketing. I'm getting very stressed because I feel like I'm losing track of what everyone should be doing. When I finally sit down to do my own job, I'm worried I've got all these guys on payroll and I'm not sure whether they're getting work done. How do I make sure my employees are productive and getting the right work done without micromanaging them and constantly looking over their shoulders? So a couple things I'd share is, one, in terms of just organizing and managing all the workflow, I don't know if you're using a project-based, web-based project management platform that everybody can kind of live in, but I would recommend that. checking out tools like Asana, Basecamp, Trello. Again, go to G2 Crowd, capital G, the number 2 crowd.com. It's a great platform that compares different project management platforms. The one we use is called Teamwork, teamwork.com. It's an Irish-based company, but go through their demo if you want to kind of check it out. I think they do a great job of web-based project management because it basically will keep everything up in the cloud. All the projects everybody's working on, how they're doing, what their status, how they're performing, and so forth is all there, right? And it will help organize all the workflows. You can see dashboards, you can see Gantt charts, and all that kind of stuff if your team's disciplined of keeping their workflow there. So I highly recommend that. Another thing in terms of just truly, if you just want to do screen captures and track, TimeDoctor.com is another tool that you can use. We actually use that with all of our VAs, just to have a backup for tracking if our clients, want to see exactly second by second. TimeDoctor.com, it does screenshots of their screen as well as a way for they to track their time based on what activity they're doing. And if you don't want to feel like your team's micromanaging, just tell them, look, I want to get a handle on efficiency of our organization. I want to see where we are, where our growth needs are, where constraints are. John, I feel like we should be doing more in this area, but I know you're telling me that you got these constraints. So I just want to see where the constraints are and what the time problems are to help me make a better strategy decision, right? And that's a very valid way of kind of going down this path to kind of confirm, how are people performing and working. Ideally, I try to work from a ROWE environment. ROWE is a book written about it. Some women wrote a results-only work environment. Because at the end of the day, if stuff's getting done and getting out the door, I don't care when they do it or how they do it, as long as it's matching up what my expectations are. But, you can use that kind of as an additional, tracking tool in the process. All right, name of submitter for this question is Alana Smith. How do I determine what tasks I can outsource to a VA, a virtual assistant? I know there is admin work I would like to have someone else do, but because I'm swamped, I'm certain what task to delegate and how to delegate it while super busy in my business. So how do I pick which ones to delegate and then how to go hire one? So Alana, this is obviously what we live and breathe every day, and it for every single person it's it's different. I mean that's why we kind of chosen our model and what we do because it's a custom fit with every business owner a lot of times of what their needs are. It's this collection of administrative and operational clutter a lot of times. So what I would share, and I always tell this with everybody, is it starts with 2 questions to really do this exercise before you outsource anything. It's just, get yourself a Google Doc, and I'll share a link out to everybody with a set of tools that I have on this. But just, it typically falls in 2 buckets. What are you doing that isn't a good use of your time, right? And just take time to just snapshot. Every time you sneeze, like literally keep a Google Doc, and I'll send you a template for it, is just list the task and then estimate how many hours per week, and ultimately you want to get to per month, you're spending on that. And you'd be amazed. Everybody that I tell to do this, they're amazed. Like, well, I did this, and I didn't think it took that much, but at the end of the day, I spent 7 hours a month doing X. So go through that exercise, time track yourself, assign hour and amounts of time for those things, and see if certain buckets of activity are emerging. And then second bucket is what's on the radar. What are things that you want to do, want to get to that you haven't been able to get to yet that can add value to the business, whether it's overhauling the website, whether it's getting an email marketing platform set up, whether it's getting a brochure, whether it's posting on social media and getting the graphics done, and you wish somebody could do that for you. And make that list, right? And then assign an approximate dollar value to doing some of those things. Particularly, for example, if you're spending 7 hours a month doing a task that you could, ultimately get off your plate, what could you do with that 7 hours to do revenue producing? Could you land 1 additional customer, 2 additional customers? Could you focus on one and maybe retain one you may be losing otherwise? And assign a dollar value for that. If a customer's worth, $1,000 a month to you and you're making gross profit of $500, right? And you could get 1 additional customer with that 7 hours focused on something, that's worth $500,000, $2,000 worth of gross margin if you get 1, 2, 3 additional clients. And then on the radar, what is it worth to you to get a certain activity done that could generate new customers, right? And assign dollar values. And that's a good place to start first, because if you're going to spend money on VAs and outsourcing, right, you want to have a dollar amount because it's an investment. It's not an expense, it's an investment. And that's what most small businesses and entrepreneurs miss a lot of times. So it's an investment. Get an identified dollar value for it. And then it's, and as far as things that can be outsourced, I mean, everything under the sun. And if you want, I'm going to post a link. I'm not going to tell you everything related to operational stuff, marketing stuff, administrative stuff, bookkeeping, managing email. I mean, all those things in every bucket imaginable. Things you didn't even think you could outsource. I mean, that I learned in my whole journey. And I got a whole webinar I'm going to do with Sean. I know we've been talking about it and hadn't had a chance to do it. I'm going to try and get that on the radar for next Monday, where I go through tons of case studies and examples. But I'll share a link to a recording in the group here, where I go through tons of examples. It'll be the best way to kind of answer that question for you, specific ones, all the way down to personal stuff. And it's just a matter of vetting, right? And there's a couple of paths. You can either go hire a virtual staff or virtual assistant directly through a platform like Upwork or Fiverr, or a job platform like Indeed or Online Jobs. And you're hiring that person one-on-one. You're paying them directly, and maybe that person has got a couple other clients they're working for, depending on if you want part-time or full-time, or maybe they have a full-time job they're working at and they're kind of doing that part-time for you. Just make sure you get clarity about their commitment to you and working with you, long-term, if you're going to do that, because that's the only path sometimes, and it can work. My very first VA, that's how I found her. But you just got to make sure that you're not going to all of a sudden, 2 months from now, they're going to find somebody that can pay, a more 50 cents more per hour, and they're going to jump ship on you. And vet them as well. I mean, in our business, when we bring VAs in, because we hire them full time as part of our company before, we let them work for clients, is we do IQ testing, emotional intelligence testing. So again, I'll share a link after this chat to kind of a whole resource page that has all the tests that we put people through. But we recommend you put people through those assessments if you're going to go through kind of one of the job platforms. And then the other option is like managed services like us, right? So we're not going to be as low cost as hiring someone kind of directly that you're managing, but with us you get kind of a full management infrastructure. And there's other companies like ours that kind of exist out there. I think we do ours a little bit differently, but it's the difference. And just so everybody knows the difference between the process, so like for us, we charge $495. We give $100 off to OA members if they want. That's fully refundable to do an assessment, to do a deep dive, and we have a director of service delivery that works with you to unpack everything, to figure out exactly what your needs are, help you figure out the priorities of tasks and processes. Then we have a whole recruitment team that goes and evaluates, and we're constantly vetting VAs. We hire them full-time and bring them on. So they feel like they're a full-time employee of yours, but they're fully managed on the back end with the management infrastructure. We have a whole playbook that we document all their processes and protocols for you, so that's always there, and they're being managed, and they have all kinds of other tactical resources supporting them. If you need something done that's outside their skill set, we have 200 people that are supporting them that do data scraping or video editing or graphic design or website development that you can lean on. And our costs, we charge $16.95 a month for a full-time 40-hour-a-week VA, right? If you go hire directly through one of the job platforms, you can pay as little as, 5, 6, 7, 800, 900, 1,000 a month, depending on the caliber of individual, what you're looking for. So obviously we're more expensive, but we're a fully managed experience, right? We get full redundancy and we're managing the whole process versus hiring someone directly. And both can work. It's just depending on which path you want to go down. But it starts off with going through that exercise of those 2 questions. Really get clarity for yourself of where you can add value, get things off of your plate, and things you can get to you haven't been able to get to due to time, money, or knowledge constraints. And I'll share a link to a webinar recording, and I'll be doing one for the whole AO community coming up here, going through all those case studies and examples that'll give you a lot of additional ideas maybe of how you could use a VA. So that concludes our session here today. Thanks again. Been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for the comments from those that were able to participate live, and look forward to the next session together. So again, Brad Stevens, CEO of Outsource Access. If you want to check out what we do, go to outsourceaccess.com. If you want to check out a lot of the tools and examples I shared that we use in our own business, you can click on Get a Virtual Assistant, see that video of me recording and describing exactly how we kind of answer all those questions that people have ahead of time. Because we practice what we preach, in our process, and commit to automating and delegating, every day. So hope all the rest of you have a great rest of your day. Take care.